This is CNN.
A Texas cafeteria becomes a death trap. Forests of the Pacific Northwest become an inferno. And in today's Watch Your Dollar, selecting the best produce this fall at the best possible price. Those stories and more for Thursday, October 17th.
This is Day Watch with Bob Kane and Donna Kelley. News for the conscientious consumer.
Good morning to you. Bob Kane has the day off. Flags are flying at half-staff in Kelley, Texas, in memory of those killed yesterday in a massacre at a cafeteria. A temporary morgue has been set up to handle the victims of a gunman described as calm and precise. 23 people, including the gunman, were fatally shot in Kelley, which is between Dallas and Austin. Police say they don't know why George Hennard drove his pickup truck through a plate glass cafeteria window and opened fire on the patrons inside. When Hennard stopped shooting, 22 people were dead, shot methodically at close range. After the police arrived to try to stop the carnage, Hennard turned the gun on himself. Well, this past hour, Kelley authorities spoke to reporters about Hennard.
He's been arrested prior in El Paso several years ago. It's for narcotics possession. I think it was just one joint of marijuana. It was minor. We won't know until the results of the autopsy are through and published whether the individual was on drugs, whether he was intoxicated, or whether he's just emotionally unstable.
Friends and relatives held a candlelight vigil to mourn the lives lost. Authorities call the Kelley, Texas killings the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Gun control supporters in the House of Representatives are trying to ban some kinds of semi-automatic weapons as part of an anti-crime bill. Today's session of the debate has just gotten underway. The proposal being debated would outlaw the sale of 13 types of semi-automatic weapons, as well as gun magazines that hold more than 7 rounds of ammunition. But opponents, including the White House, favor stiffer punishments for crimes involving semi-automatic weapons instead. Now, that would include expanding the death penalty to 48 federal offenses. Backers of the amendment say the ban might have saved lives during yesterday's massacre in Texas, in which the gunman used a 17-round magazine. They admit that they face an uphill lobbying battle against the powerful National Rifle Association.
Today we'll have an opportunity to do something. There'll be an amendment offered later today to strike from the crime bill a section which has been in there to ban the manufacture, sale, and importation of 13 kinds of semi-automatic assault weapons. I only say to my colleagues, and I realize the difficulty of the issue, we have before us an opportunity to do something good for America and to save some lives.
In July, the Senate passed an anti-crime bill that bans 9 types of semi-automatic weapons and imposes a 5-day waiting period for buying a gun. President Bush backs that version. Dozens of wildfires have scorched residential areas and forests in the Pacific Northwest. 4 people are missing, feared dead in the hard-hit Spokane, Washington area. And 1 firefighter has died in Idaho. Officials say more than 30,000 acres have been blackened near Spokane. Hundreds of people were evacuated from threatened areas yesterday. The wind-driven flames destroyed dozens of homes and other structures. The number of fire calls overwhelmed some local volunteer fire departments. And some families have taken matters into their own hands, fighting desperate battles with the flames to save their homes.
I came home from work, and there was, it was real windy. And my neighbor came over and he said that they're evacuating the valley. And I saw this brown smoke. And I went out to the barn to lock it up. And then I looked up and there was flames up there. And I just started calling my family.
The National Guard has been called out in Washington and Idaho to help battle the fires. Other blazes are burning in Oregon and Montana. The police chief of Eureka, California says he will not punish officers who made an offensive video. The tape shows officers making fun of black stereotypes and being insensitive about the mentally disabled. In one skit, a white officer is depicted selling stolen goods while made up as a black man. Another skit pokes fun at an actual case a few years ago in which a patrol car hit a mentally disabled paperboy. The tape was produced for a police roast banquet and was obtained by a local reporter. The chief says it was all in fun.
If there are any groups of people that are offended by anything that is on that tape, I would certainly apologize on behalf of the department, and I think all of the department members, because that wasn't the intent.
The equipment used to produce the video reportedly is owned by the department, but police insist no tax money was spent on the spoof. The wife of Chief Justice William Rehnquist died today at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. A spokeswoman for the Supreme Court says Natalie Rehnquist suffered from cancer. She was 62 years old. The Rehnquists had been married 38 years. Besides her husband, Natalie Rehnquist is survived by a son and 2 daughters. His voice was like thunder and sang of 16 tons. He referred to his legions of country music fans as pea pickers. Well, now that voice is stilled. Tennessee Ernie Ford has passed away. Inducted last year into the Country Music Hall of Fame, the 72-year-old Ford died in a hospital in suburban Washington. He suffered from what his son described as advanced liver disease. Ford was a major television star in the 50s and 60s. A few days ago, Ford was reported improving. But Tennessee Ernie Ford died about 5 hours ago. Daywatch continues in just a minute.
Many believe it was the innovative spirit of Europe that inspired him. And when Mr. Ford came home, he created Lincoln Continental. Today, with computerized suspension, electronic transmission, and anti-lock brakes, Continental is one of the most advanced automobiles in the world. Lincoln Continental, what a luxury car should be.
I'd like to share a great letter and a great improvement in Depend. Listen. Dear June...
When my grandson won his baseball championship, I was so proud, and I couldn't have been there without Depend.
Now Depend products have new double-layered Absorb Lock Plus. It's our best protection yet. The top layer absorbs, the quilted layer locks liquid away.
June, thanks for one great day at the ballpark.
Isn't that terrific? Get back into life.
It's gone. But it isn't.
Vicks introduces an incredible new cough drop.
It's gone, but it isn't.
A cough drop so powerful, it keeps on working even after the drop is gone. It's extra strength Vicks, a new kind of Vicks with twice the Vicks Vapor Medicine to relieve your cough and help your scratchy throat and stuffy nose feel better, even after the drop is gone. New extra strength Vicks, extra strong to work
even after it's gone.
Dentists tell you to change your toothbrush every 3 months. So does the new Oral-B indicator. When the blue band fades halfway, it's time for a new brush. The new indicator from Oral-B, the brand more dentists use.
Today, it happened in an instant. A lone gunman opens fire. 23 left dead. What pushes a person past the brink? Today on Sonia Live, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific on CNN.
Social Security recipients will soon receive their smallest cost of living raise in 5 years. Checks will rise 3.7% in January. That's an average increase of $22 a month. The cost of living adjustment is based on inflation at the consumer level. The latest consumer price figure released today shows inflation picked up in September. The consumer price index rose 0.4% last month, in part because of higher energy, food, and housing costs, and that's the biggest increase since January. Finding good food values is a priority with many consumers, but picking out the most nutritious produce and knowing whether it's the best buy, it can be a little bit tricky. Joining us today is an expert who can help us all save some green with the Green Grocer. Ann Day is Director of Retail Programs for the United Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Association. Ms. Day, thanks for joining us today.
Morning, Donna.
Good to have you here. Let's talk, since it is the season of harvest, how the harvest has been this year for some fruits and vegetables.
Well, all the traditional fruits and vegetables are in good supply, albeit sometimes the rains will hold up the harvesting a little bit. But apples and cranberries, pears, winter squashes particularly, potatoes, eggplants, and Florida avocados are all good buys right now.
Mm-hmm. Are there some crops that were perhaps not as good this year?
No, there were some crops that may be different. In a couple of cases, for instance, California navel oranges, due to the freeze, they're coming in a little smaller, but the quality is just as good, if not better, and the color is terrific. So the customer should really, if you're shopping, look for lunchbox size. They'll be a little bit smaller.
Okay. If we have a big bunch in the harvest, though, does that mean that we get some low prices or not?
Oh, usually it will mean lower prices, except on high-volume commodities, for instance, such as onions. There's a big crop of onions coming in, and potatoes. They're having a large crop this year. However, those commodities are already priced so low that we won't see a drop in those because they're high volume.
You know, it seems that we see so many fruits. It used to be that you'd watch for what was in season. Do we do that as much anymore, and should we?
Oh, yes. We had... I think there's even more and more regional produce coming into the supermarket all of a sudden after, 25, 30 years. You won't find it now, but we are spoiled. We are used to finding whatever we want in the best condition whenever we want it, so it'll be there. However, homegrown, per se, is certainly not going to be sort of in season in the fall. That comes in, say, late spring and through the summer.
You know, it wasn't too long ago that we had a produce expert on, and I asked him, and we went over this, and he had some things that he'd brought with him. How do you judge ripeness?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I can give you personal ideas, and I can give you the book ideas. For instance, things that are hard to judge. I take Bosc pears, for example. The brown pears that are in the market, you pick them up, and they're hard anyway. But if you want to know whether they're ripe, just press lightly the stem end, and if it gives a little, that's a ripe pear. They're very firm flesh, so you can't really tell just by squeezing it. Now, I come from the old school, and this is very personal. I like to be hauled on the carpet. When it comes to melons, I'm a smeller. I'm a sniffer. I like to, for instance, with honeydews, I very often will sniff them, and you can tell whether they're ripe.
Well, I must say that that's what he advocated, too, was going ahead and taking a sniff, and they should smell like that. What about hydroponic fruits or vegetables? Are those any different nutritionally, and are they a good buy?
They're no different nutritionally. They're probably not as good a buy because they're not in as great supply. That's not exactly mainstream agriculture. Hydroponics is an alternative growing system, and it's very interesting. It provides a lot of growing capabilities in areas where maybe the soil isn't good. So they're always investigating that type of thing. But that's not a cost-effective way right now to bring a lot of produce to market. So I would say that your prices are going to be a little higher on hydroponics.
We're just about out of time. Tell us what the big new craze is going to be in fruits or vegetables.
Oh, I'll give you carambola.
And
carambola, the star fruit. And you'll see them in the stores now. There's been a big crop out of Florida. They're a ribbed fruit, maybe about 3 inches long, and they have deep ribs. And all you need to do to prepare them is just cut off the stem ends and then slice them. And when you slice them, they have these beautiful stars. They're sort of a pale yellowy green color, and they're great. They're good tasting. And they're fun to use as garnish, or in iced tea, or in drinks, or on roasts, or in desserts.
Sure.
But that's going to be, because it's so easy to use and it's so easy to try. And it is fairly reasonable.
All right. Ann Day with the Fruit and Vegetable Association. Thanks a bunch for joining us.
Thanks.
And we'll take a break here and we'll come right back.
All dairies go a long way to meet high industry standards. But Quality Check goes further, which is why more people are coming up to the fresher taste of Quality Check. Look for the check in the queue, where the fresh taste will tell you we're better, because we're better than we have to be.
Here's today's lesson in the School of Fish.
At Long John Silver's,
you're gonna get your wish. Go for our batter dip fish and chicken combo. Just $1.99.
Go fish! Long John Silver's, yeah.
You can actually make more money during a recession, if you know how. Every week since 1923, the Kiplinger Washington letter has helped readers